गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामविद्यवत् ॐ गणेशाय नमः ॐ सरस्वत्यै नमः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये वागीशाद्या सुमनसः सर्वार्थानामुपक्रमे यं नत्वा कृतकृत्या स्युः तं नमामि गजाननम् वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणे विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदम् केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलम् सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् नमः भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्य केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवम् सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं यस्य सन्निधिं मात्रेण सर्वे शिष्याश्च सेवकाः कर्मक्षेत्रे प्रवर्तन्ते चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम्. Let us do the Gita Dhyanam. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लाविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकीः परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरम् हरिकथा सम्बोधना बोधितम् लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पीयमानम् मुदा भूयाद् भारत पङ्कजम् कलिमल प्रध्वंसन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालम् पङ्गुम् लङ्घयते गिरिम् यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुराः सुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभांगं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिहृद्ध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णुं भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. Hari Om everybody. Welcome back to our weekly Vedanta classes. Happy Yugadi to all those who celebrate. Welcome to our Gita Bhāva Dhārā series. We are studying the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So far, Bhagavan Krishna had given Arjuna different perspectives to resolve his identity crisis that he was going through. First, he chastised him. He gave him the Atma Jnana, that the self is unborn, birthless, deathless, He gave him Nitya Anitya Viveka, the transitory nature of the body, mind, and the intellect complex. He suggested to him to develop titiksha, endurance, with an understanding that all joys and sorrows have a beginning and an end. He reminded him of his swadharma as a kshatriya and the reputational damage that it would do running away from his duty. So even after hearing all these points of view, Bhagavan Krishna noticed that our dear Arjuna is still emotionally disturbed, mentally and sentimentally agitated. Therefore, he has brought the spiritual disciplines. Bhagavan Krishna introduced him to the Karma Yoga as a Sahakari Sadhana to Jnana Marga. Last week, as a group, we saw a very high level overview on the Karma Siddhanta. Then we saw our selected verses from the second chapter, the spirit of Karma Yoga. Bhagavan Krishna contrasted two approaches here. One was Sakama Karma, actions done purely for the results, purely motivated by a desire, and Nishkama Karma or Karma Yoga, actions done with inner detachment, dedicating all actions to the Lord, offering all results to the Lord. This way, the mind is cleansed, it becomes focused, it becomes steady. Buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Karma done with this kind of an attitude, Bhagavan said, will not bind us. Instead, it will help us to prepare for the knowledge on the highest truth. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kuru nandana. This way, we can do karma with a resolute mind, with a focused mind and intellect. Then we also saw the 3-point plan of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, how this Nishkama Karma helps us in purification of our mind and intellect. Chitta Shodakam Mukti Sadakam. Before the mind can abide in the Atma Tattva, first it must gain that inner balance. It must gain that emotional maturity. It must gain freedom from anxiety, especially about the results of the karma. We also saw last week, for a true karma yogi, what is his motivation? He derives joy, pure joy of doing the action. Because it must be done. So, this doctrine of Nishkama Karma is a special contribution of the Bhagavad Gita to the Indian philosophical thought. The yoga of desireless actions associated with concepts of Swadharma and Lokasangraha, meaning to do our duties and for the benefit of all. Lokasangraha. So Bhagavan Krishna taught Arjuna, that is all of us through him, how to develop this kind of a win-win attitude. He said, we must act, but act with equanimity. Samatva. Sukha dukhe same krutva labha labhau jaya jayau. Treat pleasure, pain, all the dvandvas, pairs of opposites, gain or loss, shita ushna, victory or defeat, jaya ajaya, all with a balanced mind. We see this sinusoidal wave. This is like drawing that normal distribution. This samatva, this equanimity is the foundation of karma yoga. So let us rechant the most famous and often quoted 2-47. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma palaheturboho mate sangostva karmani. Karmani eva adhikaraha te ma paleshu. Bhagavan said, you have a choice of action, but not to the results of the action. We went through that in detail. How do we do that? Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Sangam tyaktva karmam kuru. He said, we need to be balanced in success and failure. Like I said last week, It is important to learn to face success with humility and failure with dignity. This is samatva, equanimity. Samatvam yoga uchyate. How do we get there? Doing all actions dedicated to the Lord. Doing it not for my sake, but for God's sake. So today, let's look at 2-49. This is Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. That is 2-48. दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाः फलहेतवः. One more time together. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanamanvichcha krupana palahetavaha. Here, Bhagavan Krishna is reinforcing that desire prompted actions, they are inferior. That is, desire driven actions are inferior. One who does that way, he calls them krupanaha, miserly. Who are those? Palahetavaha. Those who act for the results, he calls them krupana, spiritually impoverished people. He says, Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya. Action, when it is motivated by sakama karma, he is saying it is inferior compared to the action done with Buddhi Yoga. That is Karma Yoga. Bhagavan Krishna is saying, shift your attitude from what is in it for me. If I do this, what will I get? Instead, shift the attitude to what is the right thing to do. We saw this in Upadeshasara also. Krutimaho dadau patana karanam palama shashvatam gati nirodhakam. This results, whatever it is, temporary, and that is the cause for our downfall. And this desireful action every time leads us to bondage, bandhana. See, these actions, they have a knack of binding us. They're never ending, if you notice. These desires are like this puffy tissues when you pull. You pull one from the tissue box, the other one pops right behind it. One leads to the other. One leads to the other. They're taxing, they're exhausting. That is why they say a lot of us have become human doings instead of human beings. Do this, do that. To-do list, honey-do list, never ending. No time to be. That leads us to the dexterity in action. How do we achieve that efficiency, that dexterity, kushalata in action? बुद्धियुक्तो जहातिहा बुद्धियुक्तो जहातिहा उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते बुद्धियुक्तो जहातिहा उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्. Underline that. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. One more time together. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukruta dushkrute tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. Buddhi yuktaha, the one who does karma, endowed with the right understanding, with the right viveka, sukruta dushkrute jahati. He transcends the good and the bad karma. This is the secret. What happens when we do sakama karma, desire prompted actions? They obviously, when you do an action, they bring results. With the result, either we enjoy or we suffer. What this does, it creates newer or deeper impressions, are called vasanas, are created, and each action brings the result. With that comes the newer impressions. Then the sorry go around begins. Not the merry go around, the sorry go around. What is that? Vasana puts the pressure to do chinta, puts the pressure to do karma, creates new vasana, chinta, karya. Vasana, chinta, karya. This cycle continues. This in turn creates new desires, which prompt further actions, karmas, and they inevitably bring new results. We are locked into this perpetual cycle of desire, action, result. Vasana, chinta, karya. This is bandhana. This is the bondage. Karma bandhana. Think about it. If you look at a banyan tree, how there's huge tree, lots of roots, and then you have these secondary roots coming from the top. They are also very strong. This is what happens. the actions and the byproducts. Our Puja Gurudev used to say, when we act in this world with this karma yoga attitude, the existing vasanas, they get exhausted and no new vasanas are created. That is the key. What this does, it slowly reduces the pressure of the vasanas and the mind is at peace. It becomes calmer and calmer and fit for jnana, knowledge. This is yoga karmasu kaushalam. This is skillful way of doing action. Kushalata. This is dexterity in action. Not just the external efficiency alone, but we need to do this with non-doership. No kartrutva bhava. What is the skill here? Acting in the world without ego. Firm conviction that ego is not my amigo. I have to let it go. Acting without anxiety for results. Acting without depending on the results. Acting with total alertness. Acting with that focused mind. That is dexterity in action. Now let's see what he says further. He reinforces this idea in 2-51. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi, karmajam buddhi yukta hi, phalam tyaktva manishinaha, phalam tyaktva manishinaha, karmajam buddhi yukta hi, phalam tyaktva manishinaha, janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchantyanāmayam. Karmajam phalam tyaktva. Giving up the results of my action. Phalam tyaktva. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha. One will become free from the cycle of birth and death called samsara. Anamayam padam. The state that is free from sorrow. The key takeaway here is Manishinaha, the wise people, how they do karma in this world? Through karma yoga. To gain chitta shuddhi and get out of samsara. The cycle of birth and death. So it is important, since we have studied quite a few Prakarana Granthas, to note that karma yoga does not give moksha. It does not give liberation directly. It makes the mind fit and ready for knowledge. Bhagavan Śaṅkara ji in Viveka Chudamani also, we saw, he reinforced this idea Chittasya shuddhaye karma natu vastu upalabdhaye. It is for chitta shuddhi, to develop chitta ekagrata. Then he continues how to cross this delusion. 2-52 Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati. Tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Moha kalilam. This moha arnava. He crosses over this ocean of delusion. How? Nirvedam. With dispassion. Nirvedam shrotravyasya shrutasya cha. What happens at this phase? The seeker turns inward. He realizes the futility of these worldly pursuits. Turning inward, the spiritual pursuits. What is this indicating to us? This is indicating the emotional maturity that the seeker has developed. He develops nischala buddhi, steady intellect, not wavering here and there, firm conviction. Now let's pause a little bit here at this phase and think a little at this stage. See, if you look at it, in general, all living beings, from a single-celled amoeba to a complex multicellular organism, or to a highly evolved human beings like us, what do we all want? We are all in pursuit of happiness. We do not want dukkham in our lives. We do not want unhappiness. That's why all the fairy tales also, they end, they lived happily ever after. Right? We want those in our lives. Ideal situation. Currently, what are we doing? In order to eke out that happiness, that momentary happiness, we are seeking that outside in the world. Pay attention to this analysis. All of this desire fulfilling actions that I am doing is for my sake, me, my wife, my children, my family. And this phase in a seeker's life before he becomes a seeker is called mamata. Me, mine, my kids, my family. Mama, mamata. So in order to achieve this in the world, what do? We change 4 variables. One is desha, place. Second variable is kala, time. We don't like one place that is making us unhappy. because it's too cold out there, or if it is too hot out here, or something or the other, there is tornado there, there's natural disasters here, flooding here. Desha. I want to be happy, peaceful. Then time. We go to the astrologer, tell him, look at my kundali. My times are not good somehow. Nothing seems to work out. Can you look into my horoscope and tell me when are better times coming? How are these planets aligned? Then I change objects, vastu. This gives me unhappiness. I need to upgrade it. That person has a better, newer model iPhone. I need to have it. Vastu. Desha, Kala, Vastu. Then people. We keep on changing Vyakti, relationship. I thought that was a good person, but he is useless. She is useless. I can't stand that person. Moment I see, he brings that unhappiness feeling, negative. And this seeker at this phase, we call them a Paristhiti-vadi. After some time in the journey of life, he or she has realized that I have changed all these variables. The paristhiti has changed in my life, but my manasthiti, my state of mind has not changed. 99% of the population, or we can say majority of the population, engages in artha and kama, and very few engage in the dharmic actions. So after some inquiry, vichara, he or she begins to understand that all of these worldly pursuits have a beginning and an end. They are all finite. It is draining me. It is dissipating my energy. I am exhausted. There is a constant sense of limitation or finitude. This in Vedanta we call it parichinnatva. A sense of limitedness. And most importantly, he or she will realize that all these external pursuits, they are riddled with pain. They give me dukkham at the end. Somehow it still leaves me with a sense of incompleteness at the end. Kind of wanting a little more. I wish I had that kind of feeling. Think. Dissatisfaction is guaranteed. Not satisfaction guaranteed, like Walmart puts it. Dissatisfaction is guaranteed in all the pursuits. Now the seeker has realized from Paristhiti-vadi, he has graduated to a Karma-vadi. Are you with me in this progression, in this evolution? Now he or she begins to attend the Vedanta classes. Somehow somebody tells them, tells her, tells him, begins to attend Vedanta, understands Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti Paramananda Prapti. This is my goal. Removal of all sorrow in my life, attaining this permanent happiness. Removal of sorrow, attaining permanent happiness. That happiness, Paramananda, is that ultimate goal. So during this journey, he or she gets the knowledge that the root cause of the problem is the erroneous notion that I am this limited being. This is the Viparita Bhavana. The seeker then begins to ask these profound questions as to why am I here? Where did I come from? Who am I? What is this gross body, subtle body, causal body, all this Vedantic concept? But the desire to pursue happiness still persists. So if you notice, everything in creation is in a state of agitation, in a state of flux, until it reaches its natural state. I have given this example many times before. If water is heated, it'll bubble up until it reaches the room temperature. Same way when it is frozen, because until it reaches its natural state. So in order to pursue moksha, to reach our natural state, which is that Sat-Chit Ananda Swarupa, this liberation from this cycle of birth and death called samsara, the seeker on this path has understood at this phase, after doing karma, pursuing finite objects, pursuing finite situations cannot give me infinitude. No matter how many finite actions I do, I won't get to infinity. So the only solution or cure for my chronic disease of ignorance is the knowledge of the true self, that Atma Tattva. That is why Bhagavan Krishna, if you notice in the second chapter, first he gave Arjuna that knowledge first. Then he started teaching him Karma Yoga. Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Then he learns the dexterity in action. Slowly he reaches this phase in his life from mamata to samata. Equanimity in life. This equanimity or equipoise, after several years of selfless service and karma, the shift happens. Instead of asking, what will I get? Instead of asking, what is in it for me if I do this? He will begin to ask, what is the right thing to do? And this must be done no matter what. So this time, the equipment is equipment I say, the mind and the intellect equipment is slowly getting tuned to the divine broadcast. The mental purity brings that intellectual clarity. I hope you are staying with me along this journey. He is always acting without ego. He is always acting without anxiety, total focus. He is acting with dedication. Now he is ready for this ultimate knowledge. And when the mind, which is no longer disturbed, agitated by the scriptural contradictions, that becomes a steady mind to abide in that self. So from seeking, now he has gone into abidance. Druk drushya viveka, druge vanatu drushyate. The shift happens to the witness, Sakshi Bhava. And only Upanishads or Vedanta, which deals with this subject matter of study, that gives me liberation. Therefore, from Manava to Madhava, from Bandha to Buddha, is possible only through the study of Vedanta. Now, the seeker has become the sought. This is Purnata. I hope you got that. From Samata, from Mamata to Samata to Purnata. This is the main purpose of the Gita Upadesha. The realization of one's true nature, that infinite bliss, that Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, through this self-knowledge. This is called moksha, liberation. It is also called nirvana, sakshatkara. This is Atma Tattva. And this realized person is called Brahmagnani, a Jivan Mukta Purusha, one who is liberated while living. And Bhagavad Gītā calls him Sthita Prajna. I hope you stayed with me in that progression. That Sthita Prajna. Then Arjuna says, wait a minute, I have also heard about this. Then he says, Arjuna uvacha Sthita Prajnasya ka bhāṣya samadhistasya keshava. Sthita Prajnasya ka bhāṣya samadhistasya keshava. Sthitadhi kim prabhāṣeta kimasita vrajeta kim. Sthita Prajnasya, a man of study wisdom. Ka bhāṣya, what are his characteristics? What is the description of such a person? Kim asita, how does he sit? Kim vrajeta, how does he move about in this world? Bhagavan Krishna says, you have to come to the next class next Saturday, same time, same place, we will discuss this topic. Before we conclude, let us do the Namasmaranam. Achyutam Keshavam Ramanarayanam Krishna Damodaram Vasudevam Harim Sridharam Madhavam Gopika Vallabham Janaki Nayakam Ramachandram Bhaje. Seventh one. Vidyududyotavat Praspuradvasasam Pravrudam Bodhavat Prolasadvigraham Vanyaya Malaya Shobhitorasthalam Lohitangridvayam Varijaksham Bhaje. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrutyorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. May all be happy. May all be healthy. May all see auspiciousness. May none suffer. Om peace, peace, peace. With that, I'll open it up for our interactive session. I would love to hear your comments and thoughts. If you can stay back, I would really appreciate that.